A very warm good evening to all the history enthusiasts. We are really happy to have you all once again on our virtual platform today. That is the fifth day of Itihasa Saptaha with our fifth lecture. And our resource person for today is Dr. Vinay Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Ancient History, Culture and Archaeology, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Sir, we are really happy to have you on our virtual platform with us today. I welcome you on behalf of myself, Nidhi, and all our audience members. Welcome, sir. I
So,
also
guys,
welcome, yes, sir. I also welcome our audience, all the viewers who are continuously with us from the past 5 days and whose support means a lot to us. I also welcome my dear friend and the co-host of this lecture, Miss Nidhi Katti. I now request Miss Nidhi to please introduce our resource person.
Yes, thank you, Manali. Thank you so much. And I welcome you also. And you handled everything very well. And I welcome you also. And without you, now I realize that page cannot exist. Our group cannot exist. So it's because of our friendship. So it's a great
Thank you,
opportunity to
Nidhi.
introduce. Yes. So it's a great opportunity to introduce Dr. Vinay Kumar sir. Dr. Vinay Kumar sir was born in 1976. He completed his PhD MA in Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, MA Archaeology and Heritage Management, postgraduate diploma in Archaeology from Institute of Archaeology, Archaeological Survey of India, ASI. Presently, Sir is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Prior to this, he has worked as assistant professor at Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantaka, Madhya Pradesh. Dr. Kumar sir has worked as consultant and assistant archaeologist in ASI. He has also worked as research scholar in Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts and Indian Archaeological Society, New Delhi. His areas of specialization include field archaeology, art history, and heritage management. Dr. Kumar is a recipient of gold medal by former Honorable President of India for being university topper. Dr. Kumar has been awarded Junior and Senior Research Fellowship by University Grant Commission. He has also been awarded National Museum of Korea 2014 and 2016 Museum Network Fellowship by Government of South Korea. He has been awarded study and research grant by the Nehru Trust for the Indian collection at the Victoria and Albert Museum to undertake project on ethno-archaeological perspectives on megaliths of Bastar. He has participated and supervised many archaeological excavations, namely excavations at Lahore Deva UP, Birhana Haryana, Baror Rajasthan, Hansi Haryana, uh, Ban, uh, Bhanapur Yampi, Gambhari Vatola Yampi, etc. places. He has conducted archaeological excavations, the site of Matigao, uh, district Chandauli as the director in field session uh, 2019 to 20, 20 to 21 and 21 to 22. He has undertaken many research projects and their outcomes have been presented in many national and international workshops, seminars and conferences. Dr. Kumar sir has worked with many international and national scholars. He has published more than 45 research papers in many national and international journals. He has authored the book titled West Asian and Hellenistic Elements in Indian Art, Mani Sushma, Archaeology and Heritage, Early Harappan Culture of Kota Diji, Sothi Complex, Indian Art, Archaeology and Culture. Felicitating a legendary archaeologist, Professor B.B. Lal Pura Mimamsa and Puratattva Vaibhava. He is a life member of many national, international committee and societies like Indian Archaeological Society, New Delhi, International Association for Asian Heritage, IAAH, Colombo Society of South Asian Archaeology, SOSAA, Pune Museums Association of India, Indian Art History Congress, Indian Society for Greek and Roman Studies, Madhya Pradesh Itihasa Parishad, Sagar Indian History Congress, New Delhi, Wakankar Rock Art and Heritage, Welfare and Society, Bhopal Numismatic Society of India, Varanasi Bharatiya Itihasa Sankalana Samiti, Kashi, UP, Indo Hellenic Research Center, New Delhi, etc. And he is also been associated with the history enthusiasts also, and we are really proud to say that he has organized 8 international and 9 national conferences. Dr. Kumar is well versed in Persian, German, Sanskrit, Oriya, Bengal, and Mithali languages. So it's really a privilege to have you on the History Enthusiast platform, sir. And you are really an inspiration for youths like us. And we continuously need your support. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very
So,
much, Nidhi. Indeed, it was a very inspiring biodata, and really, sir, we are very much inspired by you. I now request Dr. Vinay Kumar, sir, to begin the lecture.
so, thank you very much, Manali ji, as well as this Nidhi ji, for giving me an opportunity to express my views regarding my research work among the audience, as well as I am very much thankful to the organizers of this history enthusiast, to which I am also a part of this organization. So my best wishes and my support will be always be there with you. So just without wasting any much time, just I will be coming to express my views on the today's topic, that is Gandhar art, a blend of Greco-Roman and Indian elements. Basically, through this topic, I am going to talk you today about what are the various Indian elements as well as the Greco-Roman elements that have been incorporated or that has been transformed into the art of Gandhar. Before I talk about in much detail about the Gandhar art, I would like to give a brief introduction about the political scenario of the Kushanas, who are supposed to they are the patronage of this Kushan art or this Gandhar art. So we know that they were basically the a tribe, which was the name of that tribe was the Yuchi tribe of the Central Asia, and when they had established the Kushan Empire over the part of the Central Asia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and North India, and that was a landmark in the political as well as the cultural history of this diverse landscape of the Central Asia as well as the part of this Gandhar. So this Kushan era, it gives us a new epoch in the whole annals of the Indian history, and to know about the political history of this Kushan Empire, the Kushan dynasty, we have a Bactrian inscription which have been discovered from the areas of Rabatak in north of Afghanistan, which helps us to give a chronology about the various generations, about the various rulers of this Kushan dynasty. So we all of us know that it was the Kujul Kadphises who was the first person of this dynasty. Although the name of this Bhima Taktu or the Bhima Kadphises as the direct successor of the Kujul Kadphises is not entirely clearly from this Ravatik inscription, because in between the Kujul Kadphises as well as the Bhima Kadphises, we come across the name of some other person whose name is Soter Megas or the Bhima Taktu. So I will be giving the chronology in my next slide. So, and because of the finding of the so many coins of this Kujal Kadphises as well as the Bhima Kadphises, and because of this only we have to know about the history of these Kushanas. So this is the sequence of the Kushan kings as has been suggested by the Ravatik inscription. You can see here the names of the different rulers of this dynasty, that is the Kudulka species, the Bhima Taktu 1, then is the Bhima Kadphasis, then we have the Kanishk, Huvisk, Vasudev first, Kanishk second, Vasisk, Kanishk third, Vasudev second, Shaka, and the Kipunda. So all these rulers of the Kushan dynasty are clearly mentioned in this Ravatak inscription. So, based on the genealogy of the early Kushan rulers, which have been mentioned in the Ravatak inscription, and the dated inscription of the Kanishk and his successors, a rough chronology of the Kushanas can be just we can propose. That is the this Kujul Cataphasis, then Bhima Cataphasis, Kanishk, Yuvisk, Vasudev, Kanishk second, Vasisk, and Kanishk third. And you can see their names as well as their rule from which period to which period they have ruled. So the main this beside this, we also come across the name of one another Kushan ruler. His name was Herios or the Herius, who ruled from 1st to 30 AD, and his tenure was of very short duration, and he was this headman of this Yuchi tribesman, and he was probably the first of the Kushana kings, but it has not been mentioned in the Ravatak inscription or any of the coins of the Kushanas. So thus it fell to the successor of the Kujul Cataphasis to assume the role of a true monarch and unite the disparate as well as the quarrelsome Yuchi tribe, because they were always fighting among themselves for their supremacy. So after gradually wresting control of the bacteria from the Scythian as well as the Indo-Parthian Kujul Cataphasis, he moved to the Kushan tribe into the region which was known as Gandhar, which is the now main today topic of our discussion. And that is the northeast Afghanistan as well as the northern Pakistan. So that is the area of the Gandhar, which I will be telling you, and I will be showing you the map also. So, and they had the capital at the Takshila. It was situated in the northwestern part of the Pakistan, and they had also the summer capital at Begram, and it is known as Kapisha in the ancient this inscription or the text, and it is near the present day Bagram Air Base, present location of this particular city. So from these two capitals of this Takshila as well as Bagram, and you have seen that because and the other settlements which were in the vicinity of these two cities of this Takshila as well as this Bagram. So because of this, the Kushanas they became the master trader, and they adopted the Greek alphabet as well as they struck their own gold coin, because we know that Kushanas were the person who had struck and issued so many gold coins. And these gold coins feature the Kushan royal portraits, the Greek mottos as well as the symbols, which were inspired by the Roman coins and that were widely used at that time during their reign of these Kusana rulers. So by positioning themselves at the center of the Silk Route, because we know that this Taxila as well as Begram, they were the two important centers of the Silk Route, which were started in the Han Dynasty in the China that we know. And it was in the midway between China as well as India in the east and the Mediterranean world in the west. And so the Kushanas became a world power, second only to the China and Rome at that time, and the first unified force in Afghanistan to dispense rather than the receive authority at that time. In AD 48, Kujul Cadphises, he crossed the Hindu Kush mountain and he formed an alliance with the last Greek king in the region, that was the Hermias in the Kabul Valley, which allowed the Kujul son Bhima Cadphises to attack and defeat the Scythian, which were known as Sakas at that time, in the northern India, and they established an empire that his successor continued to enlarge until it extended from Ganges River in the east to the Gobi Desert in the north. So you can just imagine the vast area of this rule of these Kushanas. So Bhima Cadphises was the son of Bhima Taktu, that was the ruler of the Kushan, who ruled from 80 to 105 AD, and he was the father of Kanishk first, and he issued extensive series of the gold coins and the inscriptions. And the Bhima Cadphises had conquered the large parts of the northern India that we know. In the coin of the Bhima Cadphises, it shows the authority because of the finding of these coins. It shows that he extended up to the Banaras area, that is the Varanasi area, and also till the Indus basin. And the victory or the power of these kings of the Kusanas, they extended from Narmada to the Sak Chatrapas in the Malwa region, and the Western India acknowledged his sovereignty. So we can see the rule of these Kusanas right from the Narmada to the Malwa as well as the Western India, as well as the eastern part of the Varanasi region itself. So the rule of Kanishka after the next ruler, the great Kushana Empire, we know that he was one of the most important ruler of the Kushanas. He was the fifth king, and his rule flourished for at least 28 years. And the Kushan Empire saw the rising success, especially when having contacts with the Rome during the second century and with China during the first and second century. So these were the mighty Kushanas, and this Kushanas religious pantheon is extremely varied in the whole of the Indian religion as well as Indian history, because we more than 30 different gods you can find on the coins of these Kushanas. They belong to the Hellenistic world, the Iranian world, and to the lesser extent the Indian world. And the Greek deities with the Greek names are represented on the early coins of these Kushanas. During the Kanishka's reign, the language of the coinage it was changed from Bactrian, because earlier it was the Greek script for all the kings. After Huisk, only two divinities appear on the coins, that is the Ardokcho as well as the Oisho. And the Kushanas, they were basically responsible. Now I'm coming to my topic of my talk, that is the Gandhara art. These Kushanas, they were responsible for the two school of the art, that is the Gandhar as well as the Mathura school. And the northern portion of the Kushan Empire, they were exposed to the Roman influence, and the empire where the Gandhar art flourished in this region. And the southern portion of the Kushana Empire was the capital at the Mathura, and it was the center of the Mathura school of art. So these two schools, Gandhar and Mathura, emerged during the time of these Kushanas. So you can see here in the map the extended empire of these Kushanas. So now coming to the Gandhar art, before I talk much in detail about the Gandhar art, I will just give you a brief about the art of the Kushanas period. The medium which they used was the stone, terracotta, metal, stucco, ivory, bone, mural paintings, and also we find the paintings on the cotton cloth, and that have been recovered from the areas of the Chinas and other parts. And when we talk about the techniques of these Kushanas in terms of the art, so they have used the technique of the freestanding chiseled sculptures, which were made in the stone as well as ivory, and they have been using the high relief, that is the rock cut sculptures. They also were just constructed or the made during the time of these Kushana rulers. They were used also used the terracotta, stucco, and the metal objects, and that were the molded one. And so they have also used the technique of the molding during the in the for the execution of their art. And we also come across some handmade objects or art objects of the Kushanas, like terracotta, stucco, as well as metal. So now coming to the Gandhar art. So I will be just giving you a brief about the word Gandhar, which has been variously mentioned in the ancient text. So it is a combination of the two Sanskrit words, Gandh, which means the fragrance, as well as the Har, definitely defining the land or the region. So the term Gandhar literally signifies the land of the fragrance. The Gandhar means the land of the fragrance. And the other meaning of the Gandhar in the Sanskrit is red lead, and it was important ingredient of the beautifying product of the makeup of the this woman, that we know, that is the sindoor, and which was the mainly produced basically in the regions of the Persia, and it was imported via Gandharan silk route to India and Mediterranean. So you can see here this Gandhar means the sindoor also. So the term Kandhar was first of all reported for the first time in Rig Veda, in which the term is used to identify clearly a region located on the northwestern frontier of India. It is mentioned in Rig Veda in the context of producing the good quality of the wool, which describe the fat-tailed sheep coming from the Gandhar region. So the wool of this Gandhar region, they are very much famous. Even today, it is very much famous. So it is further mentioned in the Atharvaved, this term Gandhar. We come across in Atharvaved, Sutra literature, as well as in many of the Sanskrit and the Pali text of the later times. So it was one of the 16 great Mahajanpad mentioned in the Anguttara Nikaya that we know, and it was divided on the basis of the people living in that particular region. And because on the basis of the tradition, we come to know that the name of the Gandhar was derived from the name of a king whose name was Drahyu, and he was the king of Gandhar, and he was the son of Angara. So according to the Mahaparinirvana Sutta, one tooth relic of the Buddha after his Mahaparinirvan. It went to the region of Gandhar, and we've also come across some stupas constructed there. And what we have seen, the Behustin inscription of Darius I, it also mentions this region as the part of the Persian Achaemenid Empire from where the supply of the yak wood was imported. So this Gandhar is also very much famous for this yak wood. Besides the account listed above, what I have told you about the Gandhar, the word Gandhar is also mentioned by the celebrated Greek historians like Herodotus, Hecataeus, Ptolemy, and Strabo, who record it in various forms of Gandharoi, Gandharei, and Gandharitis. And according to Herodotus, Darius first he appointed Scylax, who was a Greek captain that we know, to explore the lower reaches from Kabul River down to the Indus in the south of Peshawar region. So you can see here the location of Gandhar here. It is nearby this area. And this Pali literature, when we talk about the Buddhist canons or the Buddhist literature, Pali literature often mentions Gandhar with the Kashmir. And amongst the 16 great states, the Gandhar is mentioned with the Kambos as well as Madrak. And the Madrak or the Sindhu, Shavir, Mahishka, they seem to have covered the great Gandhar region and beyond its core area, and it has been mentioned in Mahabharata also. So, Gandhar art tradition, influenced by the Hellenistic style, remained confined to the core area of the region with more closeness with the Udayan or the Swat region. So, impact of this Gandhar art on the Madhya as well as the Kashmir regions has been traced in recent excavation at the sites of Ambaran, Aknur, and Kaniskpur, and out have been excavated by the former Director General of National Museum, Dr. B.R. Mani, and he was the Additional Director General of Archaeological Survey of India who has excavated these sites. So you can see here the map which shows the area of this ancient Gandhar between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And this region, when we talk about the political scenario or the capture of this particular region, Gandhar, it came under the political influence of a variety of the kingdoms. So many rulers, they ruled this particular region of Gandhar. The Greek, the Mauryans, the Parthian, Kushan, Scythian, and because of the rule of these rulers, it resulted in the flourishing of or the emergence of a mixed school of art, which borrowed various traditions of the art from different schools or from different regions. And this school contributed to the development of the Buddha's image, and that we know the main contribution of this Gandhar school of art is the origin of the Buddha image, and it was usually carved out of the gray or the schist or the blue schist stone, and that was characterized by the Hellenistic features, which I will be showing you in my previous slides. So, when we talk about Gandhar, we find various names, other names of Gandhar. So, you can see here, it is this particular Gandhar art is known as Indo-Greek art, Indo-Hellenistic art, Greco-Buddhist art, Indo-Iranian art, and Indo-Roman art. So, all these are the synonyms for Gandhar art. And we notice the impact of the Greek, Roman, Bactrians, Scythians, Parthians, Iran, China, and India on this art of Gandhar. And when we talk about the main centers of this particular Gandhar art, you can see here Peshawar, Takshila, Afghanistan, because these areas they form by the three major river valleys of the Swat, Kabul, and the Indus. So all this particular region was the main center for the flourishing of this Gandhar art. And when we talk about some important places which have given us the beautiful specimens of this Gandhar school of art are the Charshada, ancient Pushkalavati, Jalalabad, Takshila, Swat, Bamiyan, Sahri Bahlol, Taktibahi, Lorian Tangai, and many more. And the time period of this particular art school is from 1st century AD to 3rd century AD. And when we talk about the subject matter of this school of art, that was Indian, that was the Buddha, Bodhisattva, and more particularly among the Bodhisattva, it was the Maitreyi. And beside this, we also find the depiction of the Hindu gods like the Brahma, Indra, Shiva, Kartikeya in the art of the Gandhar. And the material which was used for the construction of these art specimens was the schist stone, stucco, terracotta, ivory, and metal, which I have already shown you in my previous slide. So when we talk about the Greco-Roman elements in the Gandhara art, various scholars they have given their views regarding this art. So in the views of the Vasudev Saran Agrawalji, which is the pioneer of the Indian art, so he is of the opinion that with the life story of the Buddha and also the legendary Jatak, which were taken from the art of the Eastern India, the Gandhar sculptors or the Gandhar artists, they show a wide familiarity with the Iranian as well as the Greco-Roman motifs. And the Gandhar art was naturally a blend of the Indian, Iranian as well as the Greco-Roman art elements, which I will be showing you through various examples. So Anand Kumar Swamiji, he is of the opinion that this Gandhar art is iconographically, in part plastically, almost altogether, a phase of the Hellenistic art, and it descended from the art of the Greek period, but it was applied to the theme of the Indian origin. So it may be described as representing an eastward extension of the Hellenistic civilization mixed with the Iranian elements, and from another as a westward extension of the Indian culture in a Western garb. And similarly, Vincent Smith G is of the view that this art of Gandhar is essentially Roman in style and its model Greco-Roman and not pure Greek. It was developed by the artists of the Peshawar, which adopted the Roman system of design as well as the decoration, and probably they belong to a foreign colony which resulted from the trade connection. So he is of the view that because of this trade, this art emerged. So, in a nutshell, we can say that this Gandhar art is a product of the various cultural elements like the Hellenistic, Iranian, Roman, as well as Indian. So, here in this particular art of Gandhar, the artists they have given the main theme of the Buddhist religion as their main theme, and here the form is strongly Hellenistic. So you can see here they have taken the matter from the Indian tradition, but the form is strongly Hellenistic. So because we know that as they were the tribes, they were foreign into the new land of landscape of India, they could not be accepted by the people into the Hindu faith at that time, and presumably both their adoption of the Buddhism as well as the support of the various other faith or the various other religions from the foreign country, they were the part of the policy which were designed to maintain their autonomy in the conquered land. Therefore, that is the reason we come across many Indianized motifs like the Atlantid, fantastic creatures like the griffins, as well as flora and fauna in India. And beside that, we also come across the new motif of the vine, acanthus, cupid, and garland in the art of the Gandhar. So the other fabulous creatures like the hippocampus, Triton, marine divinities, god of Olympus, all they have been introduced or incorporated into the art of Gandhar. So some of the important Greco-Roman motifs which have been taken into the art of Gandhar include the Corinthian pillar capitals, Ionic and Doric pillars that we know they were the main subject matter of the architecture of this Greek word. Beside this, we come across the cupids, garland festoons, or the garland bearing erodes, bacchanalian scenes, Greco-Roman costumes, laurel wreath, wine scroll, mythical creatures, and Demeter Harithi, as well as the Amorini Yaksha. They all are the Greco-Roman motifs which have been taken into the Gandhar art. Beside this, also we also come across or we also notice some elements in architecture, costumes, dress and drapery, coiffures, headdresses, jewelry, cupids, wine scrolls, and many other spheres where we can notice the elements of this Greco-Roman word into the art of Gandhar, and also for which we know that the depiction of the Buddha Bodhisattva as well as the Buddha, basically particularly in the depiction of the physiognomy of these two, Buddha as well as the Bodhisattva, where all the elements of the Hellenistic word have been incorporated. So when we come across, talk about the architectural elements which have been incorporated into the art of the Gandhar. So you can see here the architecture of the buildings which have been depicted in the Gandhar relief, they are the mixture of the technique of the indigenous Indian school as well as the Hellenistic school. And like the sculptures, the the history of the architecture in the Gandhara art is a separate foreign interlude into the development of the Indian art, which is the view of Benjamin Rolland. And the unmistakable foreign impact in this architecture we can depict in many examples which we can see. So you can see here, this is the so-called shrine of the double-edged eagle at Sirkap. Here you can notice the existence of the Hellenistic as well as the West Asian as well as the Indian elements in one structure. Here the shrine, it resembles like a classical Greek temple. You can see here. It resembles like a classical Greek temple, not only on the plan, but also in the fact that the columns of the portico are of the Ionic order. You can see here. These columns of the portico, they are of the Ionic order. You can see here, and they are built in accordance with the Greek method. You can see here the Greek style stupa basement at the Sirkap. And in many examples of the architecture, the Gandhar Corinthian capital figures of the Buddha as well as the Bodhisattva, they have introduced into the foliage. And this was a combination of the elements, and it was the composite form of the Roman order. It was not prevalent into the art of India earlier. You can see here. And similarly, in the examples of the panels of the dream of Maya, as well as the interpretation of the Maya's dream, the rooms, the spacious hall with the flat roof, they were supported by the Corinthian pillars. You can see here, you can see here. These rooms were supported by the Corinthian pillars. You can see here in the panel of this dream of Maya. Similarly, in this interpretation of the Maya's dream, I hope you must be knowing about all these stories associated with the life of Buddha. So you can also notice here again the supporting of the Corinthian pillar in this panel. You can see here the trapezoidal roof, which have been decorated with the wavy lines in the panel interpretation of the Maya's dream. So again, this particular motif is of Greco-Roman order. Again, in the figure depicting the Indo-Corinthian columns, you can see here how blending of this Greco-Roman word, Indian as well as Corinthian. So that is why it is Indo-Corinthian columns in the panel of the marriage of the Siddhartha and the Yashodhara. Similar kind of example you can notice. So now coming to the category of the Greco-Roman elements in the representation of the physiognomy of the Buddha as well as the Bodhisattva, we can see here that many of the stylistic elements in the representation of the Buddha as well as the Bodhisattva, they point us to the Greek influence. You can see here the Greco-Roman toga-like wavy robe, which covers both the shoulders, more exactly like the Greek himation. Hellenistic stance of the upright figure, as well as the curly hairs, as well as the ushnis. They all are derived from the style of the Apollo or the Balbhadra Apollo, and they measured the quality of the faces, all rendered with a strong artistic realism of the Hellenistic world. And the large quantity of the sculptures, which combines the Buddhist as well as the Hellenistic style and the iconography, they were excavated from the sites of many sites of the Afghanistan. And the Greek artists, they were most probably the main sculptors or the authors of these representation of the Buddha, in particularly the standing statue, which display a treatment of the folds on and on some even a hint of the model volume that characterizes the best Greek word in the art of the Gandhar. You can see it here, the Roman influence in these Greco-Roman or the Gandhar sculptures. These icons, they reflect much more vividly the influence of the Roman artists who had originally inspired the tradition of this Gandhara art. And you can see again another example here, the hairstyle of these figures, they are of the reminiscent of the Greek god Apollo. And the mustaches, they also reflect the Roman influence. So it is only in the Gandhar art we find the Buddha with the mustache. And this toga-like garment, sandals, wearing the sandals as well as the necklace, they are clearly Roman influence into the art of the Gandhar. You can see here, these are the specimens. Again here, the grey blue sister, they are made up of the grey blue sister stone. You can see here how beautifully they have been executed by the artist of the Gandhar. These are some of the finest example of the examples showing the physiognomy of the Buddha as well as the Bodhisattva into the art of the Gandhar. You can see here. Here is the head of the Bodhisattva from the Gandhar of the 2nd century AD. So you can see here the standing Buddha. So now coming to the category, influence in the category of this costumes, dress and drapery. Here also we can notice some influence of the Greco-Roman word into the art of the Gandhar. So the craftsmen of the Gandhar, they brought with them the Greco-Roman style, particularly in the drapery of their sculptures, so that the Buddha as well as the Bodhisattva, they were dressed in the classical Greek as well as the Roman garments. And the main Roman garments which have been depicted are the chiton, himation, stula, tunic, palla, toga, chalmas. So all these are the this Greek and the Roman garments which have been just used in the art of the Gandhar period. You can see here, this is one of the example of this male lover which has been depicted on the toilet tray, which have been found from the excavation at Taxila. It is giving us an interesting example here. The male lover of this amorous couple, this you can see here, he is wearing the Greek dress tribon, and this Greek dress tribon was worn by the Doric states by the man in the ancient period of the Greek. And here he is shown wearing a hooded mantle. You can see here he is wearing a hooded mantle of a pattern which was again worn by the Greek countryman. So the mantle known to the Greeks, they were mainly many, and they included such as the chalmas, tribon, as well as the papylus. So in all probably, the one which has been represented in this particular this toilet tray, this sculpture is the tribon. So this was the garment. This tribon was a garment which was worn in the Doric state by the men, generally in a double fold over the chiton, and it was considerably shorter than the himation. So the female lover, which she is kneeling, you can see here. This female lover is kneeling at the side of the male one is wrapped in a himation. So you can see she is wearing a shawl-like just garment or the dress. So it is a himation or the shawl, which and that is being pulled down by her lover. You can see it here in this particular example. So another example, there are many other example also among the god. You can see here among the god, which I told you that many Indian gods have been just represented in the Gandhara art. So Indra is differently shown in different clothes or the costumes here in the Gandhar art. You can see here he appears in a panel and who is wearing Indian as well as the Hellenistic dress, and his dress is just consists of a short this Doric tunic. So this is Indra. You can see here he is wearing a short Doric tunic with the, you can see here, and another just dress of this Greco-Roman word in the panel of this sea or the river deities, which is now housed in the British Museum. This river deity is depicted in the relief, reveal an interesting type of the dress. You can see here they are shown wearing around their waist with the acanthus leaf, and it appears that these leaves, they are growing out of the body of itself. You can see here how beautifully the artists have been used in the Gandhar art these particular Greco-Roman elements. So again, in the Gandhar art, amorous couple and the image of the Hariti, they wear a sleeveless long chiton. So this is a long chiton of the Greek word, which reaches up to the feet, and it is secured by means of the twisted belt. You can see here. This is the twisted belt around the waist. So this is the image of the Hariti wearing the chiton in the Gandhar art. Again, in this particular panel of the starving Bodhisattva, Sujata, who is offering the payas or the kheer to the dying Buddha, she is dressed in the Greek chiton again, and this that particular dress is just reaching the feet, and she is just wearing a himation. Again, you can see an interesting another dress of the Greco-Roman word is shown in this sculpture in a yakshi, which is standing under a salt tree, and this particular specimen is housed in the Indian Museum, Kolkata, and she is seen here wearing a sort of the Greek coat, and it is depicted by the three lines with a brooch in the center. You can see here. So this technique of brooching in the dress or the drapery was again the influence of the Roman word into the art of the Gandhar. Now coming to the category of the influence in the coiffures as well as the head dresses or the male head style as well as the female hairstyle. I will be talking about the male hairstyle here. You can see here the people of which have been represented into the Gandhara sculptures. They offer many varieties, revealing the native as well as the foreign origin. Generally, here the man, as is evident from the sculptures, they had the long hair and they had the curly hairs. So they had the long as well as the curly hairs. And the curly hair is a hairstyle of the Greek origin, which was introduced into the Gandhar in the 4th century BCE. So sometimes the hair was combed back and sometimes the sideways. And from the forehead, sometimes it was dangling. And this is again obviously a hairstyle of the Greek origin. So this type of the coiffure is to be seen with the Indra. You can see here in this particular this image, and it is represented in the panel illustrating the gift of the bundle of the grass, which is now in the Peshawar Museum. So in the another panel of the Buddha and the Vajrapani here, you can see here Buddha and the Vajrapani, the long hair of the Indra. Again, you can see it is combed sideways, allowing to it to dangle on its nape. You can see here. And in all these cases, Indra is shown having a thick beard. You can see here how beautifully the Indra has been shown with the thick beard, and which seems to have been the main feature of the Gandhar art. Again, in a panel from the Gandhar, in which a river god has been just depicted, it reveals a quite interesting type of the coiffure or the hairstyle. And he has dressed his hair dividing into the three panels. You can see here one, two, as well as three. Three panels you can see here, and he has just tied a knot at the back. And the hairstyle is non-Indian again, and obviously it is of Hellenistic in origin. Again, in some of the panels of the Prince Siddharth, he appears in the panel with the hair dressed like an egg-shaped ball. You can see here. And you can see here in this particular panel of the Siddharth going to his school, you can see, notice here, the egg-shaped ball like the hairstyle of this particular Siddharth. So now coming to the female hairstyle in the Gandhar art, here the women, they have been portrayed in the Gandhar sculptures with many of the varieties. And here again, here you can see here a lady which has been depicted in the panel of the presentation of the bride to Siddharth. This is a panel showing the marriage of Lord the Siddharth. It reveals a type of the coiffures in which her hair is gathered into a bundle or a roundish bun. You can see here this particular one in her occiput, and her hairstyle and the dress worn by her all reveal the Greek origin into the Gandhar art. So again, in the panel showing the presentation of the bride to the Siddharth from the Takhte Bahi, it is now in British Museum. You can see particular type of the bun of this particular lady. And precisely, we can notice the similar examples in the panel of the amorous lady, which have been depicted in the panel of the drinking scene of the two couples. Here, the bun, which makes the appearance at the Gandhar, is again of the Hellenistic in origin. The Greek and the Roman ladies, they showed great aptitude in combing their hair into a bun. So this concept of the bun into the art of the Gandhar again came from the Greco-Roman world. And a fine example of the coiffure in which the hair is arranged in a shape of the spiral. You can see here a spiral shape of this hair in both these ladies. In and at the top, it has a top note can be seen in the female attendants. These two attendants you can see in the panel of the bath of the infant Buddha, which they are just having the bath to Lord this Siddharth. So their hairstyle of these two attendants are arranged in a top note. You can see here. This is the clear this close up of this that particular image. So there are another examples also in the panel of the birth of the Buddha and the seven steps. Again, a type of the hairstyle in the female attendant is shown, in which the hair is simply allowed to fall on the forehead. You can see again here of this particularly in this particular panel. So this was the influence in the category of in the sphere of the this hairstyle. Now coming to the Roman influence in the category of the jewelry, which we can notice into the art of this Gandhar art. So working under the Hellenistic percepts of the naturalism as well as the sculptors of this period, they sought to portray the details of the garments as well as the jewelry very realistically in the Gandhar art. The style and the type of the pieces worn reflect the influence of the jewelry tradition, which were the characteristics of the Indic cultural tradition as well as those of the Hellenistic as well as the Greco-Iranian world. And the Gandhar sculptures, they depict male and female wearing different kind of ornaments, and we can see here of one example you can see here. This bodhisattva, he is wearing this ear ornament as a string of the amulet box, that is an inevitable feature of the princely figure. And again, in some other example of this kundal of the gold leech and the pendant type has been found in the art of the Gandhar period, which show us the Greco-Roman elements. And we know that this technique of granulation, they came from the Parthians period in 150 AD, and that was incorporated into the technique of this use of this technique of granulation. So this is the technique of granulation which came from the Greco-Roman word into the art of the Gandhar. Again, you can see here these earrings which have been just made in the form of the griffins have been found from the excavations from various Gandharan sites. And here, this is an example of the gold earrings which have been housed in the Virginia Museum of the Fine Arts. And here you can see here, again here you can find the technique of granulation or the granules, how beautifully they have been studied with the fine granules. So this single earring is in the three-dimensional form of this griffin. So this again, this technique of granulation into the sphere of the jewelry have been taken from the art of the Greco-Roman words. So when we come across the other spheres also, we come across many examples, whether it is the drinking vessels, whether it is the saucers, or whether it is the goblets. So many examples we can notice here the Greek influence. You can see here, these are the goblets of the Greek word which have been incorporated into the Gandhar art. And not only this, these are the other things, also in the sphere of the musical instruments which have been depicted into the art of the Gandhara, we find the influence of the Greco-Roman art here also. For example, in the panel of this family drinking scene of the five figures, here you can notice a drummer which is just playing here. You can see it. This is the scene of the family drinking scene of the five figures which have been found from the excavation of the Hadda. Now it is just housed in the Musée de Guimet of Paris. Here you can see here the male drummer is wearing a foreign dress, and here his hairstyle is again in foreign style or the Greco-Roman style, and he is shown playing on a small round hand drum, and basically this is a tambourine which has been interpreted by the excavator surgeon Marshall. And this small hand drum basically is a Greek tympanum, a Greek musical instrument which he is playing. So now coming to the another sphere of the depiction of the cupids in the Gandhar art, which have been just mentioned or which have been just executed into the art of the Gandhar, they show various examples where we can notice the influence of the Greco-Roman art. So the garland with the grapes hanging from the bottom of the loops was the main feature of the East, as well as they appear on the sarcophagus from the Hadrian as well as the Antonic period. So there is a sarcophagus with the festoons that I will be showing, and these are that sarcophagus which have been found from the areas of Palestine, and these are the example of the Roman sarcophagus with the garlands, and they have been taken from the art of this particular area of the Greco-Roman world. And similarly, so many examples of these kind of depiction we can notice into the art of Gandhar. For example, you can see here the cupids and the garlands from the Gandhar region. Again, the garland bearers in the Gandhar region. Again, you can notice here at the this bottom one, the panel showing the offering of the four balls of the Buddha. You can notice here. Again, this is the close-up of that depiction of this garland bearing erodes. So the motive of the scroll as well as the enclosing of the figures of the humans as well as animals in a familiar motif of the classical architectural decoration that makes its appearance in the Rome as well as the Flavian period. So it is almost certainty of the Hellenistic origin. Perhaps this particular Greek art motif came into the art of this particularly Gandhar region, and so many examples we have come across from the sites of the Sahari Balol, and in which the loops of the plant are they are filled with the putti, apes, as well as the birds, as well as the variety of the animals. You can see here yaksha with the grape and the wine motif. This is the pilaster example of the pilaster of the seven basilica of the Lapsis Magna, showing the wine and the scroll motif. And these are the examples of this wine and the scroll motif from the Greco-Roman world. And these are the example from the Gandhar art. Here, the deeply undercut garment of the Rinako of the wine leaves with the animals, they are kept in the National Museum of the Peshawar. They present an interesting blending of the East and the West. You can see here how beautifully it has been just shown the floral scroll with the living creatures of the peacock and so many other animals of the monkey. You can see here depiction of the monkey, peacock, wine scroll motifs. So the combination of the Greco-Roman elements with the Indian elements beautifully you can notice in this particular elements. So in conclusion, I would like to say you that the specimen of the Gandhar art show the Greco-Roman elements in the dress, jewelry, coiffures, beside the composite capitals of the acanthus as well as the volutes. The introduction of the Roman themes such as the drinking parties and the externalities of the life in the Gandhar art is again the impact of the Hellenistic world, and the study of the Gandhar sculpture also reveals us, which we have seen from some of the examples, that the sculptors of the Gandhar, as they depicted the Buddhist themes, had in their mind the contemporary persons and the things around them, and the sculptors they supplied the personnel and the background in accordance with the requirement of the text. So it is quite possible that they have supplied the exact parallels with those which have been occurred in the Jatakas and the life scenes from the society of particular period, as well as the Jataka scenes, the life scenes of the Buddha, and thus many of the elements which have been found into the Gandhar art have been indigenous to the country of which the region of the Gandhar. And if an assimilation process of the elements from the other culture is set in motion, it is slowly transformed into the Greek model, into a new aesthetic language, into the at the land of this India. And it was a mosaic which the anonymous local artisans managed to compose in an original design. Thus, the unique as well as the composite language of the Gandhar art, blending and transforming the Hellenistic, Roman, Indian, and the Persian elements, became an artistic lingua franca that can be read, understood by all the people from the northern India and the central India. So, thank you very much for your kind listening. Thank you very much.
Uh, Thank you very much, sir. It was a very, very informative lecture, and we have learned so much from you about the Gandhara art. Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, in Gandhara art, have you noticed any Jain sculptures?
Uh, till now, in my research, I haven't come across that one, because whatever the themes that has been taken into the Gandhar tradition or Gandhar art is from the Hindu world as well as the Buddhist world ones only.
Sir, Dr. T.S. Ravi Shankar sir has asked a question in the comment section.
Yeah, please.
Among the sculptures examined by you, have you come across inscriptions written in Kharoshti and Brahmi and in both on some of the images?
Basically, we come across the. I told you in the beginning itself that earlier the Greek script was used, and they have used the Kharoshti script, and very rarely they have been used the Brahmi script.
Thank you, sir. I have one more question, sir, actually.
Yeah, please.
Sir, did Gandhara art ever transcend beyond the northern India, or did it ever come to South India through any form?
Definitely. I just skipped that portion because in the art of the Nagarjuni Konda as well as Amravati, so many examples are there where you can find out the influence of this Gandhar art into the panels of this Amravati as well as Nagarjuni Konda. And coming to the art of the Sarnath school also in the eastern part of India, we come across the influence of this Gandhar school of art into this art of the Sarnath.
Thank you very much, sir. If
Okay.
any of the viewers have any more questions, please post it in the comment section. Nidhi, do you have any questions?
Uh, I have a. It cannot be called as a question, but just a curiosity. Sir, the Gandhara place where Gandhara art is found, is that the same place which is mentioned in Mahabharata as the kingdom of
Yeah,
Shakuni?
Gandhari. Yeah, Gandhari came from that particular area of Gandhar only, and Sakuni was the king that particular area of that one. So I told you that it has been mentioned in the Mahabharata also. This particular
Yes, sir.
Madri, that is this DC also came from that area only because Madrak is there mention of that one area.
Sir, then are there any Gandhar sculptures about Shakuni or
No,
Gandhari?
I haven't come across because one of the best book is by Herald in Gold, and it has given a form of the catalog of all the Gandhara sculptures. So I haven't come
Okay.
across that particular thing.
Thank you, sir. I would like to read some of the comments. Uh, Dr. Nandan Shastri sir has written, Shri Nandan Shastri sir has written, Dr. Vinay Kumar's presentation is excellent. And
Thank you.
also, Gautam Jantkal sir has one question.
Yeah.
Romans did not rule in Gandhar area, so how did Roman influence come about in that area?
I told you that in 520 BCE, Gandhar was a part of the Achaemenid Empire of the Iran. That I told in the beginning itself. So in 326 BC, the region came under the control of the Greeks with the invasion of the Alexander. So this was the particular reason of this one.
Thank you very much, sir. Today, Dr. T.S. Ravi Shankar sir had joined us, and Professor M.V. Usha Devi madam from Bengaluru University had also joined us, and Shailaja Mishra, Abhishek Kumar Pandey, Bharat Nath Tripathi, and we have many other viewers. If anybody else has any questions, kindly post it in the comment section quickly. We are coming to the end of this lecture.
I think there are no questions, I guess.
And yes, Dr. S.K.
So,
Aruni sir had also joined us.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Arunish sir and Ravi Shankar sir, please extend my regards to them because both of them are my teachers.
Sure, sir. So there are no questions. If any of the viewers have any questions later on, you can post it in the comment section and we will get your answers for you for sure. So I think we have come to the end of the lecture, and sir, once again I want to tell you how grateful we are for accepting our invitation and being here with us today and spending your valuable time with us, and also for giving such an informative and enlightening lecture. We have learned so much about the various elements of the Greco-Roman art and the Indian blend that is Gandhara art. and also about so many small details of it which we had so far not given any attention to. So on behalf of myself and Nidhi, I would like to thank Dr. Vinay Kumar sir for this very amazing lecture.
Manali, there
Thank you,
is a
sir.
question in the
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
box.
please.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
please.
How can we bifurcate Central Asian impact on Gandhara art? This question is from Abhishek Kumar Pandey.
So because we I haven't just touched upon on that issue, because I told you that when we analyze, I was basically talking about the influence of the Gandhar art or the Roman art into the Indian peninsula or the Indian landscape. I didn't talk about the Bactrian ones, because we know that they are only the other form. I just mentioned about the Sakas or the Bactria's areas. So I didn't touch upon that one. So in another lecture, I would like to just talk about that one, if you people permit me. So on all the what were the other art forms which had influenced the Gandhar art, other way around. So how the Gandhar
So,
art was influenced by the other art forms, that is another issue. Just I talked about the Gandharan elements which influenced the Indian art. So there are many other this specimens or the examples that is quite different from the Gandhara art of the Indian soil.
so we will be very happy to host you once again on our platform because we want to learn so much more from you about this Gandhar art and its various influences. We will
This was my
definitely have
area of
another.
my research. I did my PhD on this particular topic itself. So that is another question which Mr. Abhishek has asked. So there are so many articles, and if you can, I will just share the link. He can just consult my ResearchGate or the academia where it has been published.
Sure, sir. We will post it on our Facebook page also so that all our viewers
Okay.
can read it. Once again, sir, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and it has been a great lecture. From On behalf of myself and Miss Nidhi, I thank you, and on behalf of all our viewers also, thank you very very much. I
Thank
also
you.
want to thank. Yes, sir. Before signing off, is there any message for the youth?
Just I would like to say that this is a very good forum, and very recent activities in the field of history, culture, and archaeology are being covered here. And the eminent personalities and the scholars like Nandan Sastri sir, Ravi Korshettar sir, and Aruni sir, Ravi Shankar sir, they are all associated with this forum. So I would like to request all the youngsters who are just keen to know about our great culture should be associated with this particular forum and take the benefit for their further research.
Thank you very much, sir. अभिषेक कुमार पांडे जी हैज रिटन, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद गुरुजी, आपने इतने कम समय में इतना अद्वितीय प्रस्तुति दिया है. So I thank sir on behalf of Abhishek Kumar Pandey, and also I thank Abhishek Kumar Pandey ji for being such a active participant of this lecture. I also thank all our other viewers who have joined us today and shown great support and affection to us. Last but not the least, I would like to thank my friend and the wonderful co-host of this lecture, Ms. Nidhi Katti. Before signing off, I want to just inform about tomorrow's lecture. Tomorrow's lecture will be at 7 p.m. It will be delivered by Shri Nandan Shastri sir. He is a museologist and member of expert committee on Ahmedabad World Heritage City Trust, as well as he is also a advisor, a museum consultant for the National Tribal Freedom Fighters Museum, which is in Garudeshwar, Gujarat. Sir will be talking on developing historical strategies, new exhibition strategies for historical themes. So I request all our viewers to definitely attend the lecture. And with this, I thank one and all. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Complete. आइए.